Welcome to the Bowel Chronicles, where we dive deep into the world of bowel health. I'm your host, Nikki Kilpatrick, and on this podcast we have raw and candid conversations with individuals facing various bowel conditions and illnesses. Through personal stories and shared experiences, we illuminate resilience and courage in the face of adversity. Be reminded that each story is personal and unique. These conversations are not to be taken as medical advice or to replace guidance from a doctor or healthcare provider. Our aim is to inspire and empower through these amazing stories, amplifying voices often unheard. So join us as we embark on this journey together. Sit back, listen, and be inspired. Enjoy the episode. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bowel Chronicles. I'm your host, Nikki Kilpatrick, and today we're joined by the lovely Charlotte in Birmingham. Charlotte, you're very welcome here to share your story with us today.
Hi.
Charlotte, we've obviously been in contact backwards and forwards, and I actually got to meet you in person several weeks ago, which was lovely, and find out a little bit more of your story. And oh my goodness, your story kind of starts whenever you were around 16. I think
Yeah.
you had a bowel blockage. So I know you do have a diagnosis of inflammatory bowel disease. So maybe you could take us back to what was happening when you were 16 years old. You know, what happened that triggered this off, and where did your journey basically start?
So it really started when I was 13, but nothing was bowel related. It was all through my joints and my spine. I was getting loads of pain and didn't really know why. There was no diagnosis at that point. They did take some bloods, and all my bloods were really unusual. So they were trying to go down the long line of lupus, which at the age of 13 to 16 is not really what you want to hear because that is really life limiting. When I was about early 16, they took me into hospital to give me a endoscopy, but they couldn't find anything, and that was due to the symptoms I was getting. That was more from my bowel.
What were those symptoms? I mean, was it acid reflux? Was it pain in the gut?
It was more pain related, and because my bloods were so strange, I think they were just trying to eliminate what was going on. And they obviously didn't find anything because endoscopies only show a certain so far down. And they did end up doing a barium at the time when I was 16. I'd got to the stage of being only 5 stone, 5.5 stone. I was not eating. I couldn't even smell food at this point. Um,
Was that because it was making you sick, or
yeah,
you
yeah,
couldn't stomach food?
yeah. I couldn't stomach food at all. Um, it was just getting to the point where um, I was just losing weight, but I wasn't getting like the diarrhea symptoms that most IBD patients would have. I was just not being able to eat. It was just vomiting. So I had the barium, and I had a colonoscopy as well. And both of those came back with a diagnosis of Crohn's and a total blockage, which the surgeons were like, yeah, we need to take you in straight away for a bowel resection. Um,
Wow.
and at 16, I was like, well, one, what is Crohn's? Two, what's a resection? And I wasn't even put in a children's hospital. I was put in adults. So I was with all the what I call the old grannies because I didn't have any support from like the children's side of things. It was just all adults, and so probably sorry.
What was going on in your head at that stage? All of a sudden you have a diagnosis of Crohn's disease. Well, you're living life, you're very unwell. Like, I think as females we're very in tune with our bodies. So did you know like there was something not right in your body? Like you knew you were sick, but nobody could give you any answers?
Yeah, I knew there was something wrong, definitely, but
And
um,
from the medical point of view of doctors and consultants and I don't know, your parents or whatever, with all this vomiting, was there ever a case of, there's an eating disorder or, anything else because you're losing weight, you're not able to eat food, or did they say there genuinely was something going on with you?
I have had it in the past where doctors have thought, oh, it is all in your head, but I do have a mum that is very good at advocating for me, and she will not let anything lie. She has looked after me so well when I was younger,
Mhm.
and I think that's where I get a lot of who I am now, and I will advocate for myself very well now. Um, so when the doctors, or if they say something that we don't feel is right, she would say point blank, no, that's not correct. We don't think that's right.
Yeah.
Um, so from then, I was in probably 24 hours later, I was having a resection, but in my mind, I was just so emotional. I didn't really know what was going on at all. Um, yeah, I was put. My parents were allowed to come with me to theatre, which in adult world is not really
Yeah.
usual. Um, I came out, I was just in so much pain.
And was it a resection of the large bowel?
No, small. I had my terminal ileum taken out at that point. So that was in 2003. I had that done. Um, yeah, it was just really hard. I found it really difficult. I didn't cope very well. And I think I found it more hard that I was in adult care. And because I didn't have that support from
Yeah.
the children's side of things. Um, then after that, I was put on like the steroids. They they work intermittently, but again, they never really helped in any way.
And what was that
And
like? So here you are at 16 years of age in hospital, having major surgery done. How long was recovery? Were you were obviously absent from school, or were you studying at that stage? What was it like, at such a young age?
so with school, I dropped out. Mainstream school, I dropped out early, but I went to what it's like a medical school where they picked me up in a minibus every morning, took me to school, and then dropped me home at the end of the day. Um, and it was a little bit more relaxed in the classroom. You could leave whenever you wanted to, if I needed the toilet and things like that. There was only probably 8 to 10 of us in the classroom, all with various medical issues. That side of things was really hard. I lost all of my friends. They obviously didn't understand, and I don't hold grudges because at the end of the day, I mean, they were 16 as well. So
I
obviously
think
they,
young people don't really understand chronic illness until they navigate it themselves or someone very close to them
yeah,
has
yeah.
it.
And it was just, yeah, it was just hard to, if I can't get my head around it, I don't expect someone of the same age as me to get their head around it. So yeah, I passed two GCSEs, and that was it. I left school and I didn't do anything for a few years, and it was hard to see like friends that I knew on social media and things that were, you know, going out on their doing their first holidays, first uni days and things, and I just wasn't doing those things, or driving lessons, passing their tests and stuff, and I couldn't do that, so that was really hard.
Did your Crohn's flare up? Did it continue to flare up even though you'd had this bowel resection done? And how
Yeah.
long would those flare ups have been?
um I would say probably every few months, every 6 months maybe. Um, it just my Crohn's has never been very well controlled at all. I'm not textbook. Even my surgeon and my gastro doctors all say, "Oh, you're very special, and you're one of those patients that we just cannot put a finger on because I'm not linear. It's just, just have to follow what symptoms I've got at the time." Um, After that resection, I then had another one in 2008. And this one was the same again, small bowel. But after this one, a week, I was sent home after a week, which was just the norm. And I just didn't feel right. I felt under the weather, so to speak. Felt a bit fluish, temperature, not eating well. When I was going to the toilet, it was still really like diarrhea, a really unusual colour. And I said, I need to go back to the hospital to get this checked out. So they CT scanned me, and they found my bowel had slipped into my pelvis, and I had a leak around the rejoin, the anastomosis. So I had basically got feces that was in my abdomen. So they rushed me back in to have it all washed out. But they didn't have to redo any resection or anything at that time. It was all just conservative surgery.
And whenever you had this second surgery done, another resection, was that because the intestine was so badly inflamed again, the state of it, that they basically had to take another piece away?
Yeah. So it's always been around where the anastomosis is, where I get like strictures, inflammation again. So it ends up getting almost reblocked again. And it's almost to prevent a full blockage. And I just get the same symptoms every single time. I know exactly when I'm going to be unwell. It always,
What are
sorry,
those symptoms?
um, it's probably not the norm. What I would say is a normal IBD symptoms. I always get skin rash first. I then get, I lose most of my eyelashes. I get canker sores in my mouth, cracked skin on my the corners of my mouth. I get inflammation in my eyes, uveitis and blepharitis in both eyes. I get ulcers in my left eye, and then like a rash that covers pretty much most of my body.
Wow.
So that's how it first starts, and then the diarrhea begins.
Okay. Those are pretty extreme symptoms, Charlotte. Yeah.
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 And then I stop eating as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, all of that going on in the body is painful.
Yeah. The the, the rash is not it's more of I would say it's an inflammation release than anything. It's not itchy or anything like that. It's just my body cannot cope. So it basically just shows that it's not coping very well. My eyes are the worst pain ever. Um, every time I blink, it's painful. The ulcer in my left eye that I usually get, I usually end up at the eye hospital because it's just the pain is unreal, it's unbearable sometimes. Um, and yeah, I just look like I've got no hair on my face. It's all lose all my eyelashes, or just lose like patches of eyelashes. And then my mouth is just really sore. So then I stop eating because of that. And then I stop eating because I'm on the toilet like 20 times a day.
So whenever they do the bowel resection, do those symptoms then just start to disappear again? And
Yeah, they do disappear, but it's usually for a short period of time. I've only ever had 5 years of, since I've been diagnosed, I've only ever had 5 years in the 20 or so years that I've been diagnosed. Um, I've just a full break, and I've been well in those years. And I say well, it's not where I've been, running around doing things. It's where I've had blips, but I've been well enough to do things that I want to do. But yeah, those were 5 good years.
so whenever they've done this washout basically of your pelvis and that, where where do you move on from then? You know, here you are recovering from another surgery. Were you able to, know, were you still studying at that stage? Was there any work involved, or are you just like, I've got to be at home all the time because I'm just so unwell?
So I did start studying when I was about 20, 19, 20. And I had one goal, and my goal was to work in the NHS. I wanted to give back to all the people that have kind of looked after me. So I started to kind of work my way back into education. And the way that I did that was just to go and do a 1 day a week, and that was to learn sign language. So I did that 1 day a week, did level one, then I did level two. Um, and then after that, I did my sciences along with my maths and English, because I didn't get anything from those doing my GCSEs. So I regained those. And then from there, I got a job in the NHS in theatres as a theatre runner. And this was all in like the 5 years that I was well.
Mhm.
Um, so I began my career in 2010. Um, yeah, and I became a theatre runner, and that was like the best ever for me, because I felt like I was able to, you know, kind of achieve something. And the strangest full circle moment was I actually went back and worked in the theatre that I had my very first
So
operation.
Charlotte, what did that feel like whenever you actually went back to work in the theatre where you'd had your first operation?
It was very, very strange. It brought back a lot of emotions. it was hard explaining to the people that I work with there that obviously being on the patient trolleys, um, it was just so really, really weird. And seeing like the patients coming in, I was the one that was bringing them into theatre. It was like complete role reversal. Um, I then did my training to become qualified as a theatre practitioner. Um, and I did, so in my role, I would help the anaesthetist put patients to sleep. I would then help do the surgery, so pass the instruments to the surgeons, and I also help in recovery when you wake up. So they're the three areas that I can work. And I did that with the same hospital that I had my first surgery in. And
Wow.
it was just like a complete full circle. Like that's where I first had my surgery, and now I'm now fully qualified, and I'm now doing the same as what I had. Um, so yeah, I did feel a sense of pride in my and almost patting myself on the back that I'd achieved it.
It's absolutely amazing after, at 16, having to basically drop out of mainstream school, having the disappointment of not having those achievements when and sitting watching all of your friends moving on with their life and your life was on hold, so to speak, and now you're absolutely smashing it. That's incredible. Like hats off to you. Well done for, setting that goal in place and going for it. I love the thought of you working in the theatre where you had your surgery. I mean, I've always said I'd love to be a fly on the wall during, my own surgery to see actually
Mhm.
what happens. And I'm like, but I wonder would that make you a little apprehensive when it comes to having a surgery done, or are you like, no, I know everything's okay. It's like I work in this role, everything runs smoothly.
Yeah, I think it. No, I mean, I've had numerous surgeries and procedures done since then, and I'm more relaxed. I just walk into the anaesthetic room like it's just another day to me because I know what's coming. I think it's more scary not knowing.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
you have
I
your
think it's
advantage.
yeah. I'd rather know than not know.
So
Um,
you've had other surgeries done then. I mean, you're living life now with the stoma. How did that come about? What has happened then in the last 14 years?
um, Going back a little bit in between, going from uni and my last resection, I developed one morning. I just woke up. I'd had a flare of my Crohn's, um, and my left leg in my groin was. I had some pain, and I just thought, oh, I've pulled my leg. I'm gonna rest. I'll go back to bed. I didn't think much of it until the evening when I had to drive my car, and I thought, wow, I can't move this leg. So I went back home. I thought I had to crawl out of my car to get into the house, and I thought, this is not good. Um, I'm going to need some help. So luckily, my sister lived just around the corner from me. So I called her and I said, I need you to come. There's something wrong with my leg. So she came round, she picked me up and she took me to her house and she said, I think just phone 111 just to get some advice. They ran through my symptoms with me, and she said, I'm sending an ambulance. And at that time, I was just naive and I said, oh, okay. She said, it's on blue lights. Can you send someone out to flag them down? And I said, yeah, no problem. The two gentlemen that came in the ambulance crew, they were really, really nice, really thorough. And I heard him radio through, this is a DVT protocol. And I said, "What? Isn't that a blood clot?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Not to worry, don't worry about it. We'll sort it when we get to the hospital." Well, that just made me panic even more because I thought, wow, I don't have a blood clot. I've just pulled my groin. Like, what are you talking about? And we got to the hospital, and within half an hour, they were testing, and then I was on blood thinners. And I had a full length clot from my ankle to my groin, in my iliac vein, and it had clotted to the point where my foot was almost going black. It had got no circulation to it at all. And my now husband, he was at work, so my sister phoned him and he came. And we were all in a bit of bewilderment because I was like, well, normally I'm in hospital for my Crohn's, not for clots. So what's going on? So the doctor was really kind, and he was like, I think this might be just a really rare symptom of your Crohn's. Well, I've never heard of this at all. Like, no one's ever mentioned this. So went home on anticoagulants, had to have my INR checked every week at that time. I think it was daily first, and then it went to weekly. And then a week later, I woke up and had the same pain in my right leg. And I said, no, this can't be happening. And I said, I need to go to hospital. So my husband, Sean, took me to hospital, and they did what is known as a D-dimer test, and that checks your levels of clotting. And I had clotted again on anticoagulants in my right leg. So I was just like, how on earth can I clot on anticoagulants? This is surely unheard of. So they admitted me, one, because my Crohn's was really unstable and I was quite unwell, and two, because I was still clotting. So I was being treated for both at the same time. And I went into what is known as a thrombotic storm. Again, something I'd never heard of. Sorry. And basically I just kept clotting all the time. Um, pretty much daily. And yeah, I think it was the next day, my left leg, I had to have a filter in it. Sorry, that's the door. I had to have a filter in it to stop the blood clot from breaking off and giving me a stroke, or a heart attack. And that was in my left leg. They couldn't do it in the right leg because they said the clot in this leg was so old, it would just be conservatively treated. And I was put on a high dose anticoagulant and left on that in hospital while they treated my Crohn's. And then I think it was a week or two later, they did thrombolysis in my left leg. The single most painful thing I've ever had done. It's basically dynarodding for veins. The simplest way to describe it, it's where they put like it's almost like like a rod up into your vein, and it scrapes out the clot from the vein to stop any breakages coming off it. And that basically, I did that 3 times, because the clot just kept forming. Yeah, and I had that done 3 times, and I was in hospital for a few weeks. And then I was sent home to rehabilitate myself to learn to walk again, because I couldn't really walk with both legs, obviously. Um, Both clotted. So yeah, I was pretty poorly at that time.
Sounds like a really terrifying experience.
Yeah, it was very scary. I also caught sepsis at that time as well, from having so many operations on that one leg. So I don't really recall much about that time. It was just so confusing. It was scary. I had, yeah, my mum was there. She was obviously my go-to person, and my husband, he was, looking after me. So yeah, the
A
two
really
of them.
bizarre symptom, of Crohn, as they suspect. So now you live life on anticoagulants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Being checked all the time.
yeah. So I go because my Crohn's is pretty stable now, with obviously my stoma, but it's stable-ish with my stoma. They check me every 6 months. And my bloods are always checked anyway. So I'm always monitored. So yeah. Um, so that
So
was a really scary time.
how long then are you living with your stoma?
Um, pretty good. Yeah, I'm still settling down. It's
And that happened this year.
Yeah, it was May this year.
So what was the lead up to having your stoma surgery in May this year? Obviously, Crohn's flared. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my Crohn's had flared again. It was still really unstable. I've never, as I said, never really had much time where it's been stable. Only those 5 years where I managed to kind of go to college, and I was on the biologics at that time as well. Um, I had a right hemicolectomy as well, leading up to my stoma.
So what
Um,
explain to us what is a right hemicolectomy?
that's your large bowel.
Mhm.
So my Crohn's had extended, so it's now Crohn's colitis, and it had extended into my large bowel. And I had that done in COVID times. And because my bowel, I'd exhausted all biologics, all azathioprine, mesalazine, sulfasalazine. I can't take. I get rashes and migraine headaches, so I can't take those. And I'd had the hemicolectomy surgery. My bowel just had enough. It was just getting inflamed every year, every 6 months. So just after I'd had the hemicolectomy, I begged my surgeon and I said, I've got no life. I'm soiling myself constantly. I'm trying to work. I'm having time off all the time. Um, I can't do my job because I'm supposed to be in theatre all the time and I'm struggling. I've got no life outside work, um, to the point where I'm literally working, coming home, sleeping, and that is pretty much my life. Um, and they just wouldn't listen. They just couldn't understand that I was really, really struggling. Um,
Why do you think that is? Because I have this conversation all of the time. Did they
every
see surgery as a last resort?
um, I, I'm really unsure. All I ever got told was give medication time. Okay, I've given it time. I had the hemicolectomy because they thought that would help, but it didn't. If anything, it just made my urgency and basically shitting myself constantly even worse, because if you think that I'm losing even more of my bowel, of course I'm gonna shit myself more because I've got less bowel to hold my poo in. So of course I am. Um, and then it just got to the point where I'm begging them, and they all they kept saying was give it time. And I said, I have given it time. We're now 4 years down the line from a hemicolectomy, because that was in 2020. I've given it 4 years, 4 years of struggling. I've got no life. Just do something. And I said to my surgeon, I really wish you had given me a stoma when you did my hemicolectomy. And she, at my last appointment before my stoma surgery, she said to me, you know, I wish I had as well, because at that point, when leading up to my stoma surgery, I'd had all my scans, my CT scan and an MRI scan, and I was no better. I'd still got disease. I was still unwell. Um, my eyes, my mouth, all my symptoms that I was getting. My bloods, have always been normal. I don't ever have abnormal bloods anymore. So you have to look at my symptoms. And she said, yeah, I wish I had as well. Well, do something then. This is now the time I'm asking to have a bag. Now, as I said before, that if you know me, I would not ask voluntarily to go into hospital for anything. And this is now the time I'm asking. I'm pretty much on my knees now. And she said, yeah, we'll do the stoma surgery. Wow, I just burst into tears because it was probably the happiest day of my life, apart from getting married. But she said yes, and I come out of there and I was like, wow, that's it. I'm fine. Finally, I've got a glimmer of hope here, because I can now go and have some form of life after this.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
21 years of suffering horrendously.
yeah,
The most extreme bizarre symptoms.
yeah.
And how long did it take then for that process, to arrange for your surgery?
It was pretty quick. Um, she got me in probably 4 weeks later.
Okay.
Um, and in those 4 weeks, I had to go back and have some another MRI, because I've had so many surgeries done. She wanted me to have the most up to date scans done so that she could navigate inside. I've got so many adhesions. I've got most of my bowel is stuck to what's stuck to all of my organs inside. So she wanted the most up-to-date navigation of inside so that she could know what she was basically facing when she got inside me. And she had herself, a professor, and another surgeon with her at the time because she was so worried that I was going to die on the table. One, of either bleeding out because of my clotting, or two, because I've not been able, because of all the leaks that I've had with my bowel when she's rejoined the two ends together. I've not been able to rejoin my bowel to form the stoma.
And
But
has there ever been talk of doing, a full colectomy, or plan proctoclectomy, to
at this stage, no. This, because I've had perianal disease as well. Um, she originally she wanted this just to be a defunctioning colostomy.
yeah.
So it would just be for a short period of time. But once she got inside and did the colostomy, she said, no, I think this will be forever. And I said, well, I'm quite happy to have it forever. That's my intention, is to keep it forever. And since seeing her afterwards, she's like, I'm gonna say, yeah, that's it. We won't be opening you again unless we have to.
So what has life been like then post surgery, Charlotte?
It's been a bit up and down. My stoma's not been plain sailing, as I would say. I would have hoped it would have been. My skin is a really big issue. More so on my side, it's like, as I said, my Crohn's always shows in my skin. So I'm struggling with that. I only have to touch my skin and it marks. So having a bag on constantly, that's obviously going to cause problems. Um, and just getting the right hydration. I'm struggling with that. I was never a big drinker before this. So drinking enough, a normal amount, and then the stoma amount on top is quite hard for me to do. So I'm drinking my salts and my Lucasades and stuff. So yeah, but I'm able to go back to work. I went back to work after 5 months. I've changed roles though. I'm not so much in theatre now. I just can't do the heavy lifting and moving patients and being on my feet all the time. It's just that role is just so hard work. It's just relentless. So I'm more now in the office. I'm more backstage, so to speak. Still helping. I'm still doing the more admin side, but still helping patients. I'm doing the resource side of the role now. But yeah,
So all in all, would you say life has been better since stoma surgery, or remained the same?
no, it's a lot better. A lot better. Yeah. I wish I had this done years ago. Years.
And as you said earlier, it's about advocating and keeping on advocating for yourself. You've learned a lot from your mum, and I suppose the older you get and the wiser you get, the more you learn to push for yourself. But sadly, it's a position the majority of us in the bowel community find ourselves in, where we have to advocate time and time again for ourselves. And sometimes they feel that stoma surgery, they see it as a last resort of, I'm taking away your quality of life, when in fact, some of us have been living for years with zero quality of life. And
Mm.
it's about getting that quality of life back.
Yeah.
Stoma surgery. Yeah. If there was one piece of a little golden nugget of information that you could give to young Charlotte or someone else that is sitting in a similar position to yourself, what would it be?
I think keep on, keep going. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Um, and keep being strong for yourself. Um, and don't ever give in. I think they're the main things that I've taken away from the last 21 years. And don't always sweat the small stuff because, yeah, you don't stress over the little things. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Charlotte, for taking time out of your day to come on here and take us along and listen into your journey. It's been eye opening, ear opening. Um, and yeah, I just want to say to our audience at this time, if you've got any questions in relation to Crohn's disease, the symptoms, Charlotte's social media handle will be popped below here in the show notes. Go give her a like, give her a follow, pop her a message across. If she doesn't respond, pop a message across to myself, and we certainly will do our best to get you some answers. But remember, we're not professionals. Go and seek medical help from the professionals. But definitely, it's been a pleasure to listen to. And again, Charlotte, thank you so much for being, vulnerable and opening up and sharing, quite intimate details with us today. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, that's us for today. So yeah, do come back next week and join us for another episode here on Bowel Chronicles.